Welcome to your new home. This video sets forth various policies and procedures and other general information which apply to your initial and continued occupancy in your new home. The Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee, commonly referred to as HACM, and the residents of public housing have developed this video to make your home a better place to live. If you have any questions after viewing this video, please see your housing manager. Housing development personnel are responsible for enforcing the lease and also providing maintenance and housing services to you and your family. The Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee has an obligation to consider reasonable accommodations for residents and their family members if you have a disability. A reasonable accommodation is some modification or change HACM can make to your apartment or procedures that will assist a disabled person to more easily use their apartment, comply with their lease, or participate in HACM-related activities. Elected every 1 or 3 years by the residents of the development, the Resident Council organization works with HACM to improve their quality of life at your development. The Council holds open monthly meetings during which the views and concerns of residents are discussed and residents are informed of new HACM programs and policies. It is very important to participate because issues that may affect you are discussed. Living at your development and attending your Resident Council organization meetings gives you a chance to meet new neighbors and to make new friends. You will share a building, yard, and facilities with others, and mutual respect is important in making your stay at your new home a pleasant experience. Occupancy automatically makes you a member of the resident organization at your development. HACM strongly supports the right of residents to form and have resident organizations and encourages all residents to be active in the affairs of the organization in your development. The Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act of 1998 requires that all public housing residents who are not otherwise specifically exempt complete at least 8 hours of volunteer community service per month as a condition of continued occupancy. For further details, please refer to your resident handbook. Monthly rent shall be 30% of adjusted monthly income. Redetermination of rent will be done on your annual basis and will take effect on the first of the month of your move-in month. A family may be eligible for a one-time earned income exclusion of $2,000 if any adult member of your household whose income contributes to rent has earned income from full-time employment. Flat rents will be available at each housing development. Contact your manager for further information. For residents that transition from W-2 or from Public Disability Benefits (SSI) to work, HACM will phase in rent increases. There will be no increase in rent the first year. The current minimum rent shall be $50 per month. A family can request a hardship exemption, and HACM will suspend the minimum rent until it can be determined whether the hardship exists and whether the hardship is of a temporary or long-term basis. Any rent payment suspended due to temporary hardships must be paid when income is restored. The federal government requires HACM to annually re-examine your income. This is done by having you complete an application for continued occupancy. You have a legal obligation to disclose all of your household income and assets so you pay the correct rent. Failure to comply will result in HACM issuing a 30-day notice, increasing your rent to the flat rent that has been determined by HACM for your home. If you are at the flat rent and fail to comply, HACM will issue a 30-day notice, increasing your rent to the Section 8 fair market rate, determined by HUD. Any changes in your family size or income increases of more than $85 occurred prior to the annual review must be reported to your development office within 10 days of the change and documented within 30 days. Failure to report an increase in income may constitute fraud and subject you to prosecution. Rent is due and payable by the first day of each month. To pay your rent, rent statement and return envelopes are mailed to each household. Your check or money order must be at least for the exact amount of the rent statement and made payable to the Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee. Never send cash in the mail. Rent must be received in the HACM Accounting Division no later than the 5th day of each month unless the 5th falls on a weekend or a city holiday, in which case rent is due by 4:45 p.m. the next working day. You may also deposit your rent in a 24-hour drop box located on the outside wall of the Community Services Facility located at 650 West Reservoir Street. You must include your rent statement with your payment. If your rent payment is not received by the 5th of the month, HACM will take immediate action. You will be charged a late rent fee. You may be served with a 14-day notice to pay rent or quit, or a 30-day notice for chronic tardy rent. No payment will be accepted at the development office unless you are under legal action or court order stipulation. You must pay by money order or cashier's check. Personal checks are accepted if your check writing privileges are not restricted. Check writing privileges may be restricted for 1 year if you have had one or more non-sufficient fund checks within a 12-month period. Two-party personal checks are not accepted. Cash will not be accepted. If you pay your rent late more than 3 times in a 12-month period, you may be considered a habitual late rent payer, and an action to terminate your lease could be commenced. Sales and service charges are due when billed. When you lease, your housing manager will inspect your new home with you. At that time, you will be given a move-in inspection form for listing the conditions of the walls, floors, cupboards, appliances, plumbing fixtures, and other areas. You may have up to 14 days to complete and sign the form and return it to the management office. Both you and the housing manager must sign the inspection form. You are responsible for your own telephone services. Please report your phone number to the development office. It will be useful in case of an emergency. When you move in, you'll be given 1 or 2 keys. It is very important that you keep track of your keys so the security of your home will not be jeopardized. Give a copy of your key only to those living in your home or a responsible adult who is overseeing your well-being. Residents are encouraged to obtain renter's insurance. Your lease will state whether utilities are your responsibility or HACM's. If you are a scattered sites, Park Lawn, Townhomes, or Carver Park, or Highland Homes resident, you are responsible for payment of gas and electric services directly to the utility companies. Service for these utilities must be billed in your name. Notification by utility company that services have been disconnected for non-payment may result in HACM requesting that your lease be terminated. Failure to have utilities in your name at leasing will delay lease signing and move-in date. You will be responsible for the actions and conduct of your visitors, whether invited or uninvited. All guests must be escorted in the high-rise, mid-rise buildings. If you have a guest or visitor who will be staying with you for longer than 72 hours, you must notify your housing manager. No guest or visitor will be allowed to remain in your home for longer than 14 consecutive days without written consent from your housing manager. Furthermore, no guest or visitor may remain in your home in excess of 28 days during a calendar year. Guest is defined as a person in the leased home with the consent of the household member. If the anticipated stay for your guest is going to be longer than 14 days, you must fill out a guest form in the development office, which will ask your guest's name and length of time that your guest will be staying. This must be done within 3 days of the beginning of your guest stay. If you would like your guest to stay longer than you first indicated, you must inform your development office in writing and obtain the written consent of your housing manager. Foster children may reside with you with written consent from your development office. This is for family developments only. A live-in aide may reside with you with prior written consent from your development office. A live-in aide is subject to the same screening criteria applied for admission of applicants into HACM's low-rent public housing. You may not sublet or transfer possession of your home to another party. You may not allow others, including family members, to use your address as a mailing address, billing address, or property storage facility. To request permission to add someone to your household, you must have a written request with your development office, along with submitting supporting documentation. In most cases, you must be a resident for 1 year prior to applying to add someone to your lease. The addition of anyone 18 years of age or older will require criminal, landlord, and credit background checks. There will be a charge paid in advance with a money order or certified check. See your housing manager for further details. If your request is approved, your housing manager will execute a new lease reflecting the change in family composition, income, and rent. If your request is denied, the applicant may not request reconsideration for at least 6 months. No person may be moved into the household, including minors, other than through birth or adoption until and unless they are approved. You may not add a minor child to the household in any mid-rise or high-rise buildings, and you will not be transferred to a family development to accommodate such requests. A transfer request may be submitted by you or by your housing manager when it is determined that the size of your family requires a larger or smaller apartment, or for documented medical reasons, or emergency situations. To request a transfer, contact your housing manager. Transfers will not be granted during your first year of occupancy. If you are granted a transfer, you must leave your current home in acceptable condition according to HACM standards and must comply with the following: have a good housekeeping record, be current in your rent, be lease compliant. When you have signed a lease for your new home, you have up to 7 days to vacate and clean your old home and return the keys and/or access card if applicable. After 7 days, you may be charged rent for both units if you do not return your key to your old unit. HACM will provide one range and refrigerator in each home. Except at sites with resident pay utilities, you must report the use of any major appliance in the addition to the range refrigerator provided by HACM. You will be charged a monthly fee for the excess utilities as noted in the table of standard sales and service charges. This includes, but is not limited to, refrigerators, freezers, air conditioners. Any damage caused by neglect of a HACM appliance will result in a charge. Refer to the table of standard sales and service charges. Do not use your range to heat your home. If your home is not receiving heat, follow the work order procedure and call your development office. Using your range to heat your home is dangerous for you and your family and may subject you to liability for property damage. All resident-owned appliances, including washers and dryers, must be installed properly so they do not create a safety hazard and must be compatible with your home's utility services. Residents must maintain their own appliances in good repair. Per HUD guidelines, window air conditioners may not be installed in a room that has only one window in units that are on the 3rd floor or below. All work orders must be either called in or made in person to the development office. You must notify the development office immediately of the need for any repairs. Work order requests will only be accepted from persons officially listed on your lease. When requesting service, you must be prepared to give your name, address, apartment, telephone number, permission to enter your apartment if you will not be present, and a detailed explanation of the problem. Work orders are performed on a priority basis, not by appointment. If you have an emergency situation after 4:45 p.m. on weekdays, on the weekends, or a holiday, call the Public Safety After Hours Maintenance Communication number at 286-5100. The Public Safety After Hours Maintenance Communication Center will respond in accordance with the HACM policy. The following situations are considered emergencies: clogged toilet, 1 bathroom units only, no heat, flooding in your apartment due to sewer backup or broken pipe, no electricity, gas leak, fire, lockout after hours, head of household only may call, non-functional smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Damage and/or the need for repairs must be reported to the development office as soon as possible. You should contact the development office if the repair you requested has not been made or if a repair was made and your problem still exists. You will not be charged for maintenance or repair services unless the nature of the repair will be considered to have been the result of resident abuse or misuse. You have the right to contest any charges. A copy of the work order will be left in your home upon completion of the repair. The housing manager will perform random reviews of work orders completed by the development maintenance staff for quality of work. An inspection may be made of the work done in your home, and a request will be made for your signature of satisfaction.
Garbage and trash should be disposed of properly and in a timely manner. You are expected to wrap your garbage in small packages and place them in the garbage compactor chutes. On weekends and holidays, the compactor chutes may be locked down. Trash must be placed in the carts that are located next to the garbage compactor. You are required to participate in the state-mandated recycling program. Recycling bins have been provided to each unit. Bins should be placed outside your apartment door on the day and date scheduled for your building, whether or not you have any recyclable material. Current City of Milwaukee recycling policy should be followed. Residents using garbage carts are required by city ordinance to place the carts at the curb the night before trash pickup and return them to their storage area by 10 p.m. the same day of collection. During the winter months, city sanitation workers will pick up the carts from the back of your apartment. Note, do not put raw garbage in your cart. Garbage must be placed in plastic or paper bags. Clean the inside of your cart periodically with soap and water. Call your housing manager for information on the disposal of furniture and other large items. Recycling will be introduced at all family developments in the near future. You will be expected to cooperate with recycling as scheduled for your development. You must not make repairs or alterations to your home without written permission from the housing manager. Park Lawn, West Lawn, scattered site apartments, and most buildings for elderly have anodized metal windows. You must not fasten anything to the metal frame or sash, which would require the use of screws, nails, or adhesive stick-ons. This includes mini blinds, drapery rods, or non-HACM supplied shades. You must not install or cause to have installed any air conditioners without prior approval of the housing manager. Any resident who wishes to install a window air conditioner must use the approved HACM window protection kit. This kit will be supplied by HACM, and you will be assessed a refundable security deposit. In addition, use of a window air conditioner will result in a charge for excess utility consumption as described in the Table of Standard Sales and Service Charges. You must not use nails or screws to permanently fasten or attach anything to the wall. You must not use dark colors of paint that would require more than one coat of white paint to cover. Wallpaper, contact paper, cork, adhesive-backed mirrors, adhesive-backed fasteners, and paneling are not allowed. You must not alter or tamper with the thermostat or any controls supplied by HACM in conjunction with heating or hot water systems. You must not install your own door locks which inhibit appropriate entry by authorized HACM staff. This includes interior apartment doors. You must not attach contact paper, stickers, or other adhesive materials or apply paint to your kitchen cabinets. You may not permanently attach carpeting to the floor. This includes the use of nails, tacks, glues, or any other adhesive. Carpeting is now provided in the family apartments at Hillside Terrace, the townhomes at Carver Park, Highland Homes, and West Lawn Gardens. Proper care must be taken. Carpeting must be vacuum cleaned on a weekly schedule. Stains can be removed with a carpet spot and stain remover. Do not attach stickers, decals, or other adhesive-backed materials to appliances, bathtubs, doors, or any other HACM property. By city ordinance, the basement cannot be used as a bedroom. If minor alterations are made, i.e. ceiling fans, carpeting, you must return any altered areas of your home to their original condition, or you will be charged in accordance with the Table of Standard Sales and Service Charges.
If you comply with the terms of your lease and follow HACM rules, it should not be necessary to assess you a service fee. Charges are applied when you cause damage beyond normal wear and tear, or when you fail to comply with a lease responsibility that requires staff follow-up. Examples are charges for damage to HACM property, failure to remove snow and ice or cut grass, legal fees, court costs, service fee for return checks due to insufficient funds, or failure to comply with pest control. You will be given written notice of any items billed. Charges are due and payable when billed. See the Table of Standard Sales and Service Charges. If you dispute the reason for the sales and service charge, you may request an appeal hearing within 5 calendar days after you receive notification of charges. but you must meet with your housing manager first to discuss the charges. If you cannot resolve the dispute with your housing manager, you may request a grievance hearing. Your lease may be terminated if you fail to pay charges billed to you. Your lease also may be terminated if you enter into a written agreement with the development office to pay the charges and fail to adhere to the agreement.
The public safety staff is on call 24 hours a day. They provide security and help maintain a safe and secure environment for you. Resident cooperation with public safety is mandatory. The staff responds to problem situations, determines an effective recourse, and attempts to resolve the matter. The public safety telephone number is 286-5100. If there is an emergency or life-threatening situation, call 911 first and then contact public safety and your development office during normal business hours. In high-rise and mid-rise buildings, you are given an access card to get into your building. You must safeguard it and not let anyone else, including family members, use it. If your card is lost or stolen, report it to public safety and your housing manager immediately. Public safety and your manager will make sure an unauthorized person cannot use the card. A picture ID will be laminated to your card when you move in. Family, relatives, and site-specific service providers may be issued access cards if you cannot come down to the building entrance doors to let them in. In order for a family member or care provider to receive an access card, a physician must document any disability. HACM has a camera surveillance system at all high-rise, mid-rise buildings. The system consists of interior and exterior cameras for observing such areas as common use spaces, elevators, and parking lots. You can monitor the system on your television. Contact public safety to get information on what channels to use to observe surveillance activity. If you see any inappropriate behavior, report it to public safety and to your housing manager. If you see anything that appears life-threatening, call 911 and then make a follow-up call to public safety and your housing manager during normal business hours. Safety of all residents is very important. One of the biggest problems is keeping out those who are not supposed to be in your building. Do not let anyone you do not know into the building. Report lost or stolen access cards to the development office. Do not loan access cards to friends or family members. Do not prop open doors for any reason.
Fire safety is an important part of your daily routine. During an emergency, proper action saves lives. For your safety, please familiarize yourself with these basic steps. If you discover fire or smell smoke, sound the building fire alarm. Know the locations of the fire stations and how they operate. Do not attempt to put out a fire due to hazardous fumes produced by combustible materials. Upon hearing a building fire alarm signal, call your development office or the Public Safety Communications Center at 286-5100. If the development office is closed, then start immediate evacuation. Close the doors behind you. Use the nearest safe exit, but do not use the elevators. If the entire building is in alarm, leave the building and assemble in an area established by the manager, where you will not hinder firefighters. If caught in smoke or heat, stay low where the air is better and attempt to reach a safe exit or area of refuge. Know the locations of all exits from your building. If you cannot leave your unit, do not panic. Feel the door to detect for an unusually warm surface temperature. If the door feels hot, do not open it. Seal the cracks around the door with towels, tape, or something that will keep the smoke out. Go to the window and signal for help. Rescuers will be looking for you. If you have a telephone available, call 911, the Development Office or Public Safety Communications Center at 286